And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Than Bitcoin podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dabauskas. And let's get right into it. So, it's been a while since I had my last episode on the Better Than Bitcoin podcast. Last episode, I think, was May 2021. That's when I just finished up my second year of college. Right now, I've started on my third year, and I moved into a new apartment. So, this is a new setup I have here. And yeah, Bitcoin has done a lot of different things over the time, so let's just jump right into it. Basically, I'm gonna zoom out on the daily chart to recap where I last left off on the last episode of the Bitcoin podcast. Is right around here when Bitcoin was breaking below this 46K support area, and I was looking for a buy zone of this previous range high from 39K to 42K. But as you can see recently in the daily chart, it cut through that support like butter and reached a low on that day of 30,500 around, give or take. Or no, 30,000 even. Yeah, 30,000 even. And then eventually reached a low of like a month and a half later of 28.6 on Bitstamp. And it's been ranging ever since. And I had some updates here and there on my Twitter. But basically, I've been pretty silent because I've been very, very busy. I got an internship. I've been off the grid, pretty much, safe to say. So now we're back trading Bitcoin. And in the price action of Bitcoin, is actually looking very, very good in the past 8 months. So basically, after breaking that all-time high of 20K back in late 2020, we had a parabolic bull run up to a high of 42K, cooled down a bit in a little range down to like 30Ks, and then had a low momentum and divergent series of higher highs and series of lower highs on the RSI, proving that the momentum of this move was running out of steam, basically. So once that started to happen, Bitcoin started to round off as other altcoins were jumping, like Ethereum and Litecoin, Dogecoin, all that jazz. So as those were going crazy, Bitcoin started to round off a bit. And then once everything needed a break, that's when we saw Bitcoin correct by pretty much more than 50%. I think it was 56%. Let's see, from the top of around 65K to the low of 28.6, around 55, 56% over the course of a few months after that. But once Bitcoin started to round off, we no longer saw a series of lower or higher lows and higher highs. We had that first break and made a lower low and then a lower high, and now is the indication that we're starting possibly a new trend. Instead of an uptrend, we're starting a downtrend. And that what happened to make Bitcoin drop to as low as around 30K, 28.6. Started doing a massive range for about 2.5 months, bored the hell out of everybody. And now recently we broke out of that range and came right back down to that same 42K support box. So now that, as of recently, that made me open a position in Bitcoin. I have, of my allocated capital that I put to crypto, I have around 60% intended, or 60% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. 60% of my crypto portfolio in Bitcoin right now, and the rest is in cash, waiting for buying dips. So if you zoom in on the 4-hour chart, I kind of bought in before the low was kind of confirmed multiple times. I just saw it hit these support boxes twice, and I was like, that's good enough for me. I want to get in a bit early because I can put a tight stop loss on this and only put in a little bit of money. So as Bitcoin kept hitting that support box again and again and again, I increased my confidence and I kept adding more. So right here, my average entry right now is at 43.2, and it has pumped since then past the other support resistance zone of 47.2 to 46.5. Looks like we're going to retest that now again. Since I still have some spare cash, a low time frame, I'll be waiting to add a bit right here in that same support resistance zone. If it does come back, break that again, and comes back to, let's say, retest this range, retest this range right here, I'll add some right there. And for now, if it doesn't make it above a new nominal high next week and a half or so, I'm going to keep seeing this massive range as a range of buying. So I can either buy here, based on different price actions. Remove all these drawings. Worst case scenario is that it just comes all the way back down and revisits this low. And I'd reconsider adding here based on how it gets there versus if it gets there. Because then I don't want to add more if it's going to be highly likely that it breaches my stop loss of 39.5. So I would find it less risky to just keep adding and adding until it gets around back to a little bit below my entry. If Bitcoin does, zoom out. Bitcoin does retest this 46.5 to 47.2 area. If it does retest this and then kind of chops around a bit before reaching for the next support resistance zone, I'll end up adding here, watch and wait till it goes to my target of 52K, and then instead of taking profit off the table, I will just be raising my stop loss from 39.5 and I'll raise to the next support resistance zone. I'll put it probably a little bit below that just in case of getting wicked out of a stop. And I'll probably put around like 46,000 even to guarantee myself a bare minimum of around 6-7% on this trade. So I'd rather get stopped out in profit than try to exactly guess a peak in the market and, guessing wrong, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin runs without me. See, I'm learning. Anyways, that is my short-term time frame analysis of Bitcoin. I'm looking to add a little bit here and waiting for Bitcoin to reach a bare minimum of the local high of September 2021 of around 52.7. If it can reach, once it breaks above 52.7, the next area that I'm going to be looking at is 57.3 to 58.5. That was a support resistance zone. That was the breakdown point when Bitcoin first made its first lower low, came up to that support resistance zone of 57.2, 58.5, 58.6-ish. And then that's when it all started, that massive 50% pullback. So that would be the next important level after that. But if it does do that, then I'll be moving up my stop loss according to these levels. So let's say Bitcoin does, once Bitcoin reaches up to 52K, I move my stop loss from 39.5 to 46. And if Bitcoin reaches the next support resistance level, I'll be moving my stop loss up to 52. And I'll be taking it level by level, moving my stop loss up and up so I can ride the trend in a safe way that I like and I'm comfortable with. So yeah, that's my current trading plan. There also is the possibility that, let's say zoom out. I'm going to go on a daily chart. See it better instead of a 4-hour chart. There is the possibility that, hate to say it, that this crypto run of the past year is coming to an end. Everybody's already in. And that was a series of a lower low, lower high, looking for lower, right? That'd be a similar aspect as of this, of when Bitcoin was making higher lows, higher highs, and all of a sudden it made that first lower low, which can be seen as right here, and it made one more lower high, which can be seen here, before breaking down. So that's my other worry. So that's why I'm keeping my stop losses safe, because if Bitcoin doesn't break above these levels and continue higher from here, and it does hit my stop loss of 39.5, then the possibility, not the possibility, they'll basically just re-enter this massive 28.7 to $42,000 trading range. And since we're in that previous trading range for about 2 months, 2.5 months, it would be painful to re-enter it. And I'd find it really, really weird price action wise to break above trading range, break above it, retest it, and then break back below it and range again before higher. That'd seem kind of weird, but yet Bitcoin would like to do whatever everybody least expects. So the reason why I put that stop loss at 39.5 is because if it re-enters that trading range, in my opinion, it makes it highly likely that it will look for one more nominal low. So instead of just reaching the top of the range, it will most likely reach the bottom of the range and or make a new nominal low to cut below that low of 28.6, possibly to the next target of previous all-time high in 2017 of 20K or 19.7, depending on what exchange you look at. So it'd be weird to see it do that, but it is what it is. So I have my stop loss there to protect me from possible further ranging in this aspect and or possible seeing a new lower low, possibly down to even the 20K range. New investor laws have also come into effect, which is interesting to see because now Kraken has now barred me from shorting because I cannot prove I'm an institutional investor because I am not. And so instead of trying to short Bitcoin or trying to find short opportunities now, I just hold it in cash and I just kind of sit and wait. I got all the time in the world. I'm not going to be impatient. I'm not going to be in fear of missing out. I got all the time in the world. So yeah, that's a little update on Bitcoin. Very, very quick recap of that is, I'm going to reiterate again. Looking for a retest of 46.7 to add more for looking higher. If not, my stop is at 39.5. If it reaches that stop, it can reach as low as back to the low of the range of 30K or below. When Bitcoin makes new nominal highs to the previous high of 52K, and then to 57, and then to 62, then 65. I'll just be moving my stop loss up and up since I'll already be pretty much in with my entire portfolio. I find it very, very reasonable that if Bitcoin breaks above its previous all-time high of 65,000, 64.6, 64.8, give or take a little bit here and there. If Bitcoin breaks above its all-time high, I find it extremely reasonable that it can reach as high as 100K. Because last time Bitcoin broke its all-time high of 20K, it did a 3x. 20K to 65, around 3.25x, but yeah. And market is pretty, seems like everybody's in. I have a bunch of friends texting me, hey, what coin do I buy from this? Hey, what do I buy from this? Oh, I'm still in this. So it seems like everybody's in. So could Bitcoin do another 3x above the 65K all-time high? If it breaks above that, who knows? But I see the bare minimum being 100K because that seems like the level that everybody's looking at to tackle. So yeah, Bitcoin to 100K. A little summary. I also want to go over a couple more tickers that I went over last episode. Silver Trade I was going over, and using my Silver Trade to invest in SILJ, an ETF of silver miners, silver junior miners, and that has gone, as you can see, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. More chopping, more ranging, and technically made a new lower low. It's all dependent on how you see this in an wave perspective. I would see this as a wave 4, even though people would say it is kind of deep for a wave 4. It is clear that there's some complex triple combo or complex 3-wave structures or nested three-wave structures leading up to this high of $18.23. And then going back down to the range, this is a clear five-wave move down with some nested here and there. So it makes me think that this is some sort of A, B, and C down to a fourth, around $11. But until SLJ breaks back into that range, it could be seen as making new lows. There is a bullish divergence on the RSI, but that is useless until we see some confirmation and some follow through on that bullish divergence. Yeah, silver not looking too good. Silver basically hasn't reached a new low. Technically it did, but like it's still at support. And it bounced off pretty strongly off that bottom of the support. Just that SLJ has more volatility and more of a view of sentiment on silver as a whole. Yeah, so that trade isn't working too well. Our other trade in our cobalt portfolio that is really big is DIG, which is pretty much 2x levered XLE, which is a energy sector ETF. And energy is looking very, very good in the past few weeks. Clear possibly end of a fourth wave, looking for higher. That's pretty much it. Stop loss slightly below the support of $53 a share. We put our stop loss at 50. It almost scraped that, and then it bounced off. Oh yeah, we're targeting for DIG around $100 a share. Fifth wave, 170. Bare minimum is the bare minimum is the resistance of $100 a share for what, $95 to $100 a share on DIG, and that would look good. That'd be the breakdown point, but not really, because there is a leverage drop off right there as well. So we already in XLE, we already retested that breakdown period back in March 2021. And we're just testing resistance right now. All is well for energy, looking good. Another trade that I took in my personal brokerage account is Riot. Short term, not looking too good because I opened the trade a little bit early. And Riot possibly is invalidating this nested setup, but it's only invalidating the nested setup. There's this larger degree, wave 1, wave 2, is still technically valid. This can just be, this wave 1, wave 2 can be seen over here now as some complex ABC pattern now instead of a nested setup, and possibly it could create another nested setup. But for the short time being, Riot looks good from a fundamental perspective because of their expansion in Bitcoin mining. If you don't know, Riot is a Bitcoin mining company that aims to profit directly from mining Bitcoin, selling off the Bitcoin every month to secure revenue, blah, 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 stuff like that. And they're expanding their Bitcoin mining operations ever since Bitcoin mining operations got banned in China. So Riot looks good. My trade doesn't look good, but Riot still technically looks good. It's just skating on thin ice. Same thing with Mara, holding up slightly better than Riot. Same kind of company. Both mine cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin. And basically you can see that when Bitcoin goes in a bull run of, let's say, 3x from a previous all-time high, Mara and Riot will also go in a bull run. Bitcoin broke above its all-time high. Let's see. Bitcoin broke above its all-time high in December 2020. Mara from December 2020, let's say it was around here, did a 10x, 11x, 12x. So it's almost like getting more exposed to Bitcoin without directly buying Bitcoin. Similar to GBTC, but there is a discount on GBTC that's bleeding based on other companies. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, Bitcoin looking good. Riot, my trade isn't looking good in Riot. My trade on silver isn't looking good. but Riot still technically looks good. If you were to enter here, it would not be that bad of an idea. That is not financial advice, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's kind of a little update of this episode of the Bitcoin Podcast. Just wanted to go over a trade idea. I'll be posting on my Twitter, at Jamie Dabauskas. I'll put it up on the screen. I'll be going over my Twitter. You can't see the ring light. I'll be going over this update on this trade over Twitter, at Jamie Dabauskas. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's it for this episode of the Bitcoin Podcast. And I'll see you guys later.